Hi guys, I'm Tiare Gattimora. This is my personal YouTube channel, and I have noticed that there is an interest in whether I have modeled in the past, whether I do now, how that went, and I'm sorry because I've been a little absent from here lately, but I have been sort of discussing the topics that I also could have discussed here. Elsewhere, I will put all the links down below of the things that have already come out, where I have done that. And basically some of those topics it's still sort of pending, where I'm gonna be sort of discussing, writing about them, talking about them. So in the meantime, because there is this interest, I thought it might be a good idea to do a little more of a story time, and actually go through my experience in modeling. Obviously the fact that I am a socialist is gonna sort of reflect on my analysis of the whole thing. I thought, why not actually just tell the whole story with that part of my life. So starting from the very, very, very beginning, I didn't like my childhood at all. I didn't like almost anything about my life. It was honestly pretty sad and lonely, and I've talked about that more in my video about growing up on a literal ship, which I will also link down below. But basically I had a very different experience from, I would say, most girls, in that I vividly remember sort of being 9, 10 and looking at my body and just something lighting up, being like, oh my god, I look like those women on the advertisements. So I had the opposite experience of probably most women, because most women look at that and they're like, hold on, I don't look like that. But I totally did. And obviously I was still a child, but my face, my very sort of super skinny long legs, I just immediately felt I identified with that. And it was interesting because for many people, they're happy about their lives, they have big families, friends, they enjoy other things, but because I had basically none of that, I hated pretty much everything. That just felt like something to grab onto, if you will, something where I actually, an arena where I actually had some power amidst the utter powerlessness. And so it just my body and my general physical appearance, just from the start, it was something to lean on and to sort of give me hope that I could ever fit in and kind of win at something one day. From then on, I basically had an aunt who used to be a model in Madrid, and she had this sort of photography school, and they did photo shoots, and they would hire models. And at some point when I was 12, so literally a child, they started hiring me. And a very interesting as in honestly fucking awful, but a very interesting situation came about because I used to live mostly in the Canary Islands, but obviously to myself, my family lived in Madrid and in Italy, half and half. And the Madrid part of it was where I started developing this part of my life. So I would travel to Madrid and I would do these first photo shoots at like, 12, 13, 14, 15. And the thing is, the first thing I'm gonna say about modeling for what I think is probably a majority of girls, definitely a lot of sort of well-known instances of very, very, very successful people in the industry. And certainly my own story is that these women that you see that are like ultimately, you know, the hot girl or the beautiful girl, or, you know, basically their looks are a thing, like they are particularly pretty, they have been bullied often because of their very bodies. Because something that people don't get that really makes me super mad is that not beauty, or like what's considered desirable, is not the same everywhere in the world, right? And there's sort of also this idea that, you know, oh, the West is bad, this like sort of like uniquely evil place. Like breaking news, the Canary Islands, which are a sort of colonial area of Spain, I would say most people there don't look white. The culture is very sort of, you know, there's the sort of indigenous inheritance, if you will. It's vastly Latin American. In a lot of ways, it's probably more Latin American than it is Spanish. A lot of people from Venezuela, Cuba, who are also, by the way, not big fans of the current governments there. There's a totally different idea of what is the goal for women to look like than there would in Europe, right? So imagine how utterly confusing for a little girl who looked like Kate Middleton, Kate Moss, and Carla Bruni put together. Worse nose, better boobs. But, you know, basically that was me. And you put me in this very Latin American, like, Instagram body, but more sporty kind of ideal beauty standard. Like, I was always pretty, to be honest, but I definitely didn't fit in what was like the top catch. It was like a very specific type of pretty that definitely was just not the current thing there, then and there. And so it was utterly confusing for me because I would have the opposite. I felt very isolated because most girls were actually like made to be insecure by, I don't know, Victoria's Secret or like high fashion especially. And for me, it was literally the opposite. Like everything around me was very opposite of my look. But media-wise, I felt like I was so close to the top. Like, it was like a source of hope for me and a promise of social, you know, of climbing up the social ladder at some point. And the thing is, there were some miscalculations on my part about the role of class in all of this, right? So, first of all, I remember like one of the first big opportunities I got, I missed because I lived in the Canary Islands. One of the many reasons I think that was a terrible decision to live there. I got a casting with one of the sort of biggest directors in Spain for a film, actually, because I also like dabbled in like acting castings. And it was for this Snow White silent film from the 2010s, which was, you know, quite successful in the end in terms of where it could have led if I landed anything in there. And I ended up not going because, I mean, basically my mom was too chicken shit to like take me. She just basically got scared and didn't arrange for me to travel to Madrid to attend. So that was quite a start. But basically I was there because after the like Nepo family modeling, I actually got signed up by a really good agency in Madrid. At the time it was called Delfos. I don't know what it's now. But it was quite good, and they signed me when I was like in my teenage years. I think I started being in touch with them when I was like 15, and then when I was like 17, 18, they actually like signed me. And the thing is, like, it was again very frustrating because I wasn't living there, and then I moved. What happened was I actually at 18, I didn't go straight to uni. I did the one gap year of modeling, right? Just to see if I liked it, to see what it would have been like for me. And when I got there, I found out it's actually not the like glamorous job that one would think. And you know, the main reason being that it's extremely different from what it's portrayed to be. Like when you think of a model, what do you think of, right? Probably Giselle or like Gigi Hadid, Kendall Jenner, Cindy Crawford, like literally anyone who's like famous. Like the idea of like a model is a famous wealthy woman who's like at the very, very, very top. Turns out, point number one, most models don't live like that and they don't get there. Like that is such a tiny percentage of the people in the job, right? And there's the misunderstanding of like, oh, so are you a model or are you trying to be a model? It's like, no, you don't get it. Being a model for the most part is not the super like got your life totally like sorted, you don't need to worry about anything ever again, you're like basically one of the most famous women in the world thing. Like that is again the tiniest percentage. So that's first and foremost, it's not what you are imagining it to be. So what is it like for most girls, right? You wonder. So for me, like most girls, it was basically you get signed by an agency, and you go on castings, right? So the castings are, imagine this is happening usually in big cities. So for me it was Madrid and Milan, but it can be Madrid, Milan, London, Paris, New York. Many of them have a fashion industry, and basically you go around every day, it's a different casting. At the casting, you really never know whether you're gonna spend 5 minutes or 5 hours. I mean, maybe not 5 hours, but definitely 2 hours. And then you have no idea whether you're gonna earn anything from that, right? Because again, it's a casting, so they're deciding whether they cast you at all. And you know, the most frustrating type of thing is when you've waited for hours and you get there and they're like, would you be willing to cut your hair short? And it's like, no, my agency doesn't let me. Why wasn't I told that this was a deal breaker before the 2 hours wait? Anyway, it's just very absurd. And that happens. Then what happens is usually you get a callback. So still you haven't got the job. You gotta go to the callback, which is another kind of casting. And you basically just have to go back to the same place. It's like a smaller sort of number of people because there's already been a selection that can be paid sometimes, and they basically decide whether they take you or not. That doesn't always happen, but it's it makes the whole thing more annoying when there needs to be a callback, right? And after that, the jobs can vary immensely, but I'm gonna get into that a little later because I'm trying to do an overview right now of how it works. So this is with one agency, right? You do this in one city, and then ideally you get booked, you have a mother agency, and then you get booked by other agencies, right? So they come to your mother agency, this is how it worked for me, and they do a literal casting at the agency to see that agency's models, and they either pick you or they don't. If they pick you, they say, okay, we're gonna sign this girl, we're gonna take her to the city where we're based, and we're gonna try to book her around, we're gonna have her there for a couple of months. And what happens is, amidst all this, which by the way, this is a process which should happen multiple times, you are getting into debt with your agencies, right? Why? Because you gotta have a profile online on the agency's website. That costs money that they're charging you. You are paying them 20%, for instance, it depends, a percentage of every job they get you. If you go to another city and they put you in a model's apartment, you are accumulating that on that on that rent. So basically, it accumulates, and then sometimes you get a job, but you don't even see any money because that money you owe to your agency or agencies, right? And the type of job truly or the type of casting can be incredibly varied, like from a sort of random shop that like nobody knows and it's quite not great fashion, to be honest, to literally like the biggest brands. There can be anything and everything. Like I've definitely seen profiles that go to the same things, including myself. It's just there's a lot of mixing, to be honest. And I want to point out this mostly happened 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. So I am not sure how things are now. I just wanted to point that out because I think the system roughly still works like that, but it might have changed a little. But now I want to specify what my experiences were. So first of all, it makes me kind of mad, when people just paint this as an only negative world. Like for me, again, like I was saying, it really felt like my sort of Cinderella moment, because that you go from being like just feeling out of place and like somewhere where a life where you don't feel happy at all, to suddenly being like literally like the focus. And so for me, I'm gonna put this on the thumbnail actually, but there's this video of one of the very first things I ever did, which was I was a finalist at the Elite Model Look contest in Barcelona in, I think it was 2012, so this would be 13 years ago. I was like 16, and for me that experience, like it was very far from this idea of, you know, it's all toxic, it's all like gonna brainwash you and it's a horrible thing inherently. No, like for me, this was such a boost of like excitement, self-esteem. It was really great. And yeah, I went there, I got to, you know, be in this totally different scenario from what my life used to be. And I quite liked it, to be honest. I then also, when I got to Madrid and I did my year of modeling, I basically, one of my favorite things that I've honestly done, like to this day, was I was on this Telecinco, like this really big TV chain, which had this big show. It was called Baby, I think. I didn't watch it, but like it was a big show in Spain at the time. It was with this great actress, Belén Rueda. And I was on a scene with her, and this wasn't a very tough acting job because I literally was a model and my character was a model. But like, I was basically there in my lingerie, and that's basically what I had to do. I had to be there in my lingerie. And I just, you know, it makes me really mad when I say this. Like, a lot of people would automatically be like, oh, well, that sounds dodgy. I loved it. I am an exhibitionist, and like I said, I hated so much of my life, but strangely for a young girl, I was a lot into my own looks, and like, it's annoying because like that doesn't mean I was an idiot, that doesn't mean I was like a superficial person, whatever, or there was nothing else to me. There was a lot to me actually, but that was just one of the very few things that I didn't hate about my existence. So I just, showing it to the world on such a like great stage, it felt amazing. And it's interesting because at that time I had like literally kissed two guys, if not one. And I hadn't even liked it. Like, I was totally like, quote unquote, innocent. And I just turned 18, but I loved being in my, you know, lingerie on television. I loved it. So I just find it annoying. I find it annoying when it's gotta be bad. It's gotta be bad. Not like, it's not the evil of the world. You know what I mean? Like, the evil is being forced if you don't want to, but that's true for many jobs, isn't it? Or for most wage labor. So that job I absolutely loved. And that's the thing, right? It was a mixed bag because like the whole dynamics I described are not the best. Like, unless you get to a very, very high place, to have it as the one full-time job you have is not easy. Some of the jobs were really bad. I didn't even get paid. It was cold. People like tamper with your face, with your body. You're barely an adult. Some of the brands are just plain ugly. And, you know, it can be like very uncertain hours in very random places. And that I certainly didn't like, but I mean, that's true of any job. I just left because, you know, it just felt like with the models that were actually like doing it full time for multiple years, etc., there were a lot of girls from Latin America or Eastern Europe, and it just like, it was very obvious to me even at the time that was because they couldn't do anything more secure, right? And that's entirely unfair because clearly these women come from regions that are, you know, not doing great. not doing great. And I felt like I wanted to take the opportunity to go to university and maybe get somewhere a little better theoretically. Of course, that is yet to be seen. But like, you know, I just saw the scenario, and I understood there was something off about the kind of people that were doing this, because it seemed like they really had no other option. It didn't seem like they were loving it. Because again, this is for most models. And so that's why I left of my own will. Like, I decided to basically break the contracts and get out of it, because I was also accumulating debt. So I was like, I don't think so. It was making me very, very anxious. And that's why I did it. But I then went back, and when I finished uni, I did some other jobs. I sort of managed to have engagement with some agencies on a lower commitment level that didn't stress me out in terms of debt, etc. And also I got some jobs through like contacts. And again, some of them were not great, but some of them were actually really, really interesting. Like I was a hostess at the Monte Carlo Hotel de Paris, and we had this Giardino della Sposa dresses, which were a dream. Like, I felt like Cinderella, like never before, to be honest. Like, this dress was just stunning. You can, by the way, if you stalk my Instagram, this is all in there. Like, that's literally the only place you have to go to. I just loved wearing that. It was such a beautiful place. I got to be on Vanity Fair because there was I think his name is German Larkin, this really famous photographer, was there, like taking pictures of us. That, for instance, was an amazing job. And so it really is a mixed bag. Like, it's hard to say all jobs are awful, or like it's all toxic, or it's all forceful. It's not that simple. It just comes down to what most capitalist industry comes down to, which is the total lack of worker power. Because what ultimately made me leave and like decide to go to uni instead, and like not stick to this, and again I've kept on doing some jobs here and there, and I totally would. I'm totally open to that. I am an exhibitionist after all. I really love taking photos and being in front of a camera, obviously. But the reason that I left and that I didn't make it sort of my sort of first choice, if you will, is the total lack of worker power. In the sense that you get there and it's very, there's sort of an assumption that you are there and it's like your dream to be there, right? And you are sort of the smallest part of the chain, if you will. Like, you are really usually the youngest worker, and again, I am sure this is not the case for like Gigi Hadid, but I'm talking 90% versus like the tiny bit at the top. And you also get sort of tampered with physically, right? Which the other people on set are not. So you are in a more vulnerable position, and you are not part of the creative process, which I would have certainly loved. I have a lot of ideas for fashion to this day, and for also how I look better, right? I know my own angles. Like, there should be a lot more input from models, I think. And I don't know, it's just sad that there just is not. I certainly didn't feel that. You're also very atomized because you're not every day with the same co-workers. You're just sort of going back and forth in this very competitive, context as well. Because think about it, you're literally going into casting after casting. So even if you meet the same girl a bunch of times, like some girls were so nice, and I still have them like on my socials, and some of them have gone on modeling like full time, and they look stunning. But obviously at the time you're literally competing against each other, which is odd. Like it doesn't make for a great opportunity for worker solidarity, does it? So just not an ideal scenario on many levels, for sure. The question about the weight, right, and the sort of like toxic standards, first of all, I'm not sure about nowadays. At my time, I'm gonna be super open here and give you a very sort of clear-cut example. I was on a casting. This was in my gap year that I dedicated mainly to modeling in Madrid. Was on a casting with the elite Parisian brand, right? So they came from Paris, and they seemed to really like me. Like in the moment, I could tell they were like into it. But then my like booker, like agent from the modeling agency, calls me up, and she's like, "Your ass is too big." I was like, what? I was getting bullied for being skinny. She was like, "No, your ass is too big. You're at 90. You should be at like 88. And I was like, at this point, I was so like, you know what? My priorities are that I like myself, and I love that about my body. Precisely. I love the proportions. And I was like, you know what? I'll keep those 90. Like, it just felt so absurd. She was like, they really liked you, but they were like, her ass is too big. And it was just like, I mean, I wasn't even sorry. I was like, well, okay. Like, that's, I guess that's a good problem to have. Like, obviously, I'm sad that I didn't get into the Paris elite agency, but hey, I get to go on with my life with 90 centimeters, which is perfect to me. Like, I don't know, I just like, I didn't get me down at all, to be honest. But I'm sure for other girls, that might be the case. I'm not denying that. And another example is in Milan, the model that I was room sharing with. I remember she booked a show, right? They called her back and they're like, "Sorry, you're cancelled. You're not doing this show anymore." And she's like, "Why?" They were like, "Your boobs are too big." I was like, keep them, girl. Like, you look amazing. Honestly, it was so ridiculous. But like, you know what I mean? Just that was genuinely sad, I have to say. And yeah, I mean, just ridiculous. Then I got to London, and in the beginning I tried, actually, because I'm totally open to like, jobs, like not maybe full-time, but like jobs for sure. So I did go to agencies, and they were also like, she needs to like drop a couple of centimeters. Like, mind you, I was like literally like this, like I weigh 50 kilos. I've barely oscillated. My body is very like, it's been like this for like 15 years at this point. And they were like, in their defense, I would say they were a little more like, maybe she can just make a more effort at the gym. And I will say they were probably correct in that sense. but the thing is, they're losing the centimeters. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because they go to the gym because you're gonna look more well proportioned. But I mean, losing weight when you're already like very much on the skinny side. And you know, it is true. They probably don't ask the more famous, like well-connected girls, more followers girls to do this. No, they don't. No, they don't. So yeah, there's totally a double standard, and I hate it. Of course I do. It's not good at all. But again, I also don't think it's helpful to be like, oh, this entire world is just like totally wrong and has never made anybody happy. Well, as far as I know, people like Giselle Bündchen, amongst many others, got literally bullied, and then this gave them a triumphant place in the world. And for me, to be honest, like, yes, I also got bullied for very similar reasons. And now, sure, I'm not Giselle Bündchen, I still feel amazing looks-wise. And again, I feel bad about pretty much every other aspect of my life. So it's something that I definitely don't feel is the problem in my existence. And I don't know, I just find it quite ironic that it's assumed to always have to be a bad thing for women. Even if they're beautiful, because that's a toxic way to be happy. I mean, let us enjoy whatever little we have sometimes, you know. Let's not just act like if you're beautiful, you're automatically gotta be like the blonde film about Marilyn, you know, who had so much more going for her, but also I'm sure she was happy about how gorgeous she was. And I'm that makes me happy for her, honestly. And you know, it's not as easy. I will say, I don't enjoy like I've said before on this channel, the Kylie Jenner look at all. I've talked about how, to me, like, these women genuinely look like non-places, like they're just this generic plastic entity. And I just, it's not for me. Like, I just love, you know, more like classic, more natural beauty. Like, for me, Vivian Lee is like as beautiful as a woman can ever be. Like, that's just my sort of dream beauty. To give you, for instance, I grew up watching like Brooke Shields, and I don't know, I'm very conflicted, and I was discussing this with some friends on the left, like, you know, I don't know how to feel about this, because truly meritocracy in itself is an issue, right? So as socialists, how should we go about beauty? And how should we go about who gets to be a face of something, right? I honestly don't know. I will be very open about this. I've been trying to think about this, and obviously I'm biased because, again, it's like the one thing that I feel quite blessed with amongst the horror that is my life. But, you know, it's just, how should we frame this? I don't know. I find it really difficult to think this politically. But I do know it's no way to go to celebrate or act like women who look like, sorry Kylie, but like Kylie, are like not a symptom of something that is very not what we should be going for, very, like end of history, and, you know, a total lack of a grand narrative and whatever idea of beauty can go with that. I genuinely find it a difficult topic, and I'm still thinking through it, and I want to be honest about that. And again, I'm sure I have so many blind spots because I have a very different experience from most women, even though I want to say, like, mind you, it doesn't mean I never struggled with how the world perceived me, because again, I was bullied. I honestly, I don't think it was mainly for my looks, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I also want to highlight how it's not as easy as it seems. I think for almost everybody, like, I don't know, I struggle to think of people who might have literally always been fine, also because there is such a, you know, if you, like I've said this before here, if your beauty is a thing, immediately you're gonna get the people commenting on it, and not in a good way. I mean, look what happened to Margot Robbie. That was so pathetic. Like, the people being like, she's mid. It's like, take a look in the mirror, dude. Like, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. This woman is like a goddess. I cannot. But yeah, it's, you know, it's just being a woman. Let's face it. You can't win. But also, I don't think the way to win is to say, yeah, the modeling thing is necessarily twisted and wrong. Or, you know, but it also, on the other hand, doesn't help to think that all that modeling is about is this, you know, like outstandingly successful women, which, by the way, nowadays, if you look at the agencies, they ask for your Instagram follower count. Nepotism is, I mean, you again, who are the top models? Kendall Jenner, she's beautiful, but, you know, it's, and a lot of Nepo babies are gorgeous. Like, they should definitely be there. I think Gigi Hadid is an absolute goddess. Charlotte Casiraghi is, I mean, she's not a full-time model, but she's opened shows, I think. She's been on, you know, campaigns, and she is beyond stunning. And then, you know, it's like, I like these people also, or like Bella, because like they tell a story with their face, and I absolutely love that. They are the opposite of a generic entity, you know. They are human, in a stunningly beautiful way, and I don't know, I just appreciate that. Anyway, these are my thoughts. This is most of my experience, if you guys were curious. So yeah, I have been a model. I left it because I wanted to, and then I've been open, and I am open to, you know, jobs. And it's a mixed bag. It's not as simple. It's not what people think, and models and their lives and how we exist in the world are also not what many would assume to be. So yeah, that's it for today. Please do give me your opinions. Please feel free to like criticize. I'm sure I have so many blind spots in this. I also didn't discuss body positivity, which I'm not a fan of. I think it's pretty obvious from what I've just said. But that's maybe for another video. This was more about my experience. So yeah, please let me know your thoughts, and I will be back here very, very soon.